evening session of LChaim, a taste of Jewish music from anywhere. And tonight we are on our way to Argentina without having even left our dining room, in my case. So we're grateful, and our wonderful presenter and guide is the incomparable Cantor Sheila Nesis, whom many of us knew from the pleasure of her being here in Denver. Alas, we lost her to Portland, Maine, but we know she is still very active as a presenter, performer, bon vivant, and a wonderful representative of all the cultural learning we are going to gain in a short amount of time. Thanks to everybody who has partake of the LChaim in the past, and if I don't know you yet, or I may just end up saying hello to you through the chat. I just want to find out who you are and where you're from if I don't already know you. The LChaim program is could not happen without the following. First and foremost, our wonderful Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, SCFD, Colorado Creative Industries, the Rose Community Foundation, the City and County of Denver, the Bain Family Foundation, Anonymous, and the Union Pacific Foundation. All of these entities have come together, as well as friends and supporters of the Colorado Hebrew Chorale and of our treble choir called Nashim. So we thank you, and we're thrilled that we can offer this to everyone. You'll hear a little bit of a spiel later about how you can support us. I do want to start, though, with a little bit of a heavy heart, that there was a shooting in Boulder, Colorado, in fact, not too far from where my younger son had lived not too long ago, at the King Supers at Table Mesa, and there's still information that has not yet been shared on the media. Our hearts go out to everybody affected by this tragedy. So not to make it too sad, but we're going to now turn it around. And it is my pleasure again to welcome Cantor Sheila Nesis. Take it away, please.
Well, thank you, Carol, so much for reaching out, for the opportunity, for the invitation, for the opportunity to be with all of you, to reconnect with my dear friends, community from Denver, Colorado, and it's just so wonderful to see you. And I know some of you have chosen to not show your faces, and I hear that that is allowed on Zoom. You know, if you were at shul, that would not be allowed, but that's okay. I'll take what I can get. But for those of you who are showing yourselves, know that your faces, even though you are muted for most of the program, your faces, and for me to see you singing and participating in your expressions, it really is wonderful, and it really helps me to stay connected, and to really feel, for all of us to feel that we are together. And you know, this is what we keep hearing in these unprecedented times. Just because it's virtual, it doesn't mean it's not real. And that's the work we're doing. We're trying to really be together. So on that note, we're going to begin. And Leah, thank you for being my tech person this evening, and for all the back and forth with getting this prepared for all of you. We'll begin with a song in just a moment, but I actually wanted to pause for just a second on this opening slide, because as you'll see, there is a picture there, and that picture is not of Jewish Argentina. It's not a synagogue. It's not a neighborhood that is a Jewish neighborhood. It's not a community center. It's the neighborhood called La Boca, which is one of the most famous neighborhoods in Buenos Aires. And La Boca is where the Italian immigration first established itself. But the reason why I decided to start with this slide is because what's true about Jews everywhere else is also true about Jews in Argentina, which is how we've blended and enriched the culture of what was happening in a certain place, as well as absorbed elements of others that were around us. And the Italian immigration, along with the Spanish immigration, but the Italian immigration was very was major in 1880s and during the Industrial Revolution. And I will say that there is something about the Italian and the Argentinian Jew who has a little more of an Israeli style, very direct, very loud, using a lot of gestures. There is something about those two cultures that actually blend together so beautifully. And so I thought, we would start with a little view of the colors and the joy of living in Buenos Aires and in being surrounded by so many different people. So on our next slide, let's take a moment to acknowledge that we are together, even on Zoom, and that it is truly wonderful. So I will begin with one melody, and then that one melody that you all know, I know you know it, and then move on to another melody that you might not know. So sing with me, even if you're muted. I can still see you. I can see you moving your mouth. Hineh Mah Tov u'Manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hineh Mah Tov u'Manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hineh Mah Tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hineh Mah Tov shevet achim gam yachad. One more time. Hineh Mah Tov u'Manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hineh Mah Tov u'Manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hineh Mah Tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hineh Mah Tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hineh Mah Tov u'Manayim 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 shevet achim Hineh Mah Tov was written by Ari Priven, who is the Chazan at Congregation B'nai Yeshurun in New York City on the Upper West Side. It's a congregation known for establishing the Argentinian Jewish thing in the United States, and the congregation was led by Rabbi Marshall Mayer, who was a rabbi who lived in Argentina and in fact founded a congregation there that is still active, very much active, and then moved back to the States, founded Bechol and Ari Priven, an Argentinian Chazan, ended up following him, and they're still certainly a center of spirituality and music, communal singing, and they've taken a lot of inspiration from some of the more Middle Eastern elements of music, and so this composition, which is now very, very old, is Argentinian via New York City, via some elements of some Middle Eastern elements in Chazan Ari Priven. All right, so we can move on to our next slide. Okay, we have to start with this dessert. That's my style. Now with dinner. So I'm slightly embarrassed to say that this is probably the easiest Passover dessert you could put together, because it only uses 3 ingredients according to the recipe, but I'll tell you how we make it at home. So this is basically what you see, layers of matzah with dulce de leche intertwined and a little bit of melted chocolate on the top. That's kind of it. The dulce de leche, this is the part that is important. Dulce de leche is an Argentinian creation, and I won't let anybody else tell you something different. Some other Central American countries might have wanted to take ownership, but it is an Argentinian creation. It is not like caramel. So please, don't break my heart. If you're going to make this dessert, buy yourself some dulce de leche. It is not the cheapest option, but it is worth it. You might be able to find it at a local store. If not, there is a good old friend, Amazon. You can order on Amazon, and they carry dulce de leche. This dessert is a take on an Argentinian traditional non-kosher for Passover dessert, which is called choco torta. Choco from chocolate, chocolate. Torta from cake. That's the name in Spanish. Which is layers of a specific cookie that is not quite a graham cookie. It has a chocolate-ish, a very cocoa flavor, not very sweet, with the dulce de leche. But the thing is, in that dessert, we dip the cookies in coffee. And first of all, the moisture of that then creates almost like a tiramisu texture, that's the way I would describe it. So and knowing that matzah is a lot crispier and crunchier than even a cookie, that's how we make it. We actually dip the matzah in coffee. We don't, and we totally, we put it all, we sink it in a bowl or a Pyrex with coffee, and then we take it out, and then we put it down in your surface and layer it with the dulce de leche. You don't need to leave it soaking. It's just dipping it, taking it out, and then you layer it. I think that makes this extra special. So that is a little bit of an Argentinian kosher for Pesach dessert that it's very simple, but certainly very Argentinian.
You want to put the link in the chat? Because I can't get into it.
Yes. I might even still have, hold on, because I need to do that. I need to go here and now come back to you. Where are you? Here. I want to send this to everybody. Okay. Okay, can you hear me? I know that, okay. I want to make sure that I am speaking loud enough. As always, the thing about microphones is they're always loud enough for when we sing. They might not be loud enough for when we talk. So I'm going to make an effort in really speaking loud and projecting my voice. And I also have an accent, so there you go. I'm throwing a lot at you on this Monday evening. All right, so I think we can move on to our next slide. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit, I want to begin a little bit the story about me along with Argentina and some of the people that I miss and that I love and that have had an impact in my life. So I grew up in Buenos Aires, and my family, they were not observant Jews, and that was not uncommon at the time. My parents are both professionals, and they are both my mother was an architect, my father is an architect, and they went to the public high school in Buenos Aires, which is a very it's a renowned institution. It has a lot of cachet, a lot of intellectuals and politicians throughout the history have gone to this high school. So a very, intellectual family. And at the time, being intellectual and being an observant Jew were not two things that went hand in hand. So I was born in, just to give you a sense, I was born in 1983, and there was no denial that I was a Jew. That wasn't the point, but there wasn't necessarily, Judaism wasn't quite part of our lives at home. Until somehow my sister became a bat mitzvah. And I say somehow because there wasn't a whole lot of a background for her to want to do that. She didn't go to Hebrew school or Jewish day school, neither did I. But she did so, and that started a love affair for me with Judaism, and particularly music. Music was my Jewish awakening and the way in which I first connected with Judaism. And the cantor that was at my shul, this is very interesting. Her name is Silvina Chemen, now Rabbi Silvina Chemen. I was not a rabbi at the time. She is Sephardi, serving in an Ashkenazi shul. And I learned most of my singing and my way of Jewish prayer through her. And even some of the most traditional Ashkenazi melodies that one could think of, she would always sing it with the melismas that are part of Sephardi music style. So this is one of the pieces that I first learned, and I learned it from her. And it's a melody for this section in the Haggadah. There is the Bechol Dor Vador, and I'll ask a question, and if you know the answer, you are welcome to put it in the chat. I personally do not know a melody for these, but the one I'm about to sing. So you can listen to this melody that I learned from my home shul, from my first cantor, my mentor in Argentina. And if you do know a different melody, I'd love to either have a link or make a comment on the chat, because this is the melody that I've really held in my heart for all these decades, and now I get to share it with you.
Cantor, we do have some people who actually recognize part of this melody or the first part of the melody. So thank you for putting the question out there. People have responded in the chat how beautiful it is. I don't know this melody, but it is beautiful.
And this is the beauty of it. I actually, and whenever I'm asked to teach, I love the fact that I almost always don't really know everything that I think I know or that I'm supposed to know, I suppose. I don't know who wrote this melody or if it is a combination of melodies. I just know that this is the melody that was passed on to me by my cantor from, back in Argentina, from my years of, being formed and just being transformed and sculptured. And I've kept it as a treasure all these years. I do not know who wrote it. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know. It is pieces of melodies put together. So there you go. A little bit of, a little bit of a puzzle. Another piece of your Jewish puzzle.
Wonderful.
It is possible that it's a Sephardic melody, or that it has the part of it. It is from a Sephardic origin because of my cantor's origins as well. All right, I think we're ready to move on. Now let's take a moment to talk a little bit. So I this could have been a very crowded slide with a lot of tiny pictures. Instead, I decided to just choose a couple. So let me walk you through it. On the picture that is on, like, looking vertical on the left side of the screen, that is Templo Libertad. It is known as Templo Libertad because it is the temple on Libertad Street. That is the street in Argentina. It's not the actual name of the synagogue. It is known like with that name because that's where it's located. And Templo Libertad is actually in the center of the city. Let's stay in that. Yeah, thank you, Leah. Let's stay there for a moment. It's in the center of the city. And if you were to walk the block, first of all, there is like a plaza, a little small outdoors area right outside, and then surrounding that you have on one side, on one street, the synagogue. On the next street you have Teatro Colón, which is the opera house, right, almost next to the synagogue. In front you have the tribunales, which is I should have looked that up. So I suppose it's like the courts. It's the courts, okay? It's the courts in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. So a lot of action happens in that specific block, and that is Templo Libertad, which was what we're seeing. The way we're seeing it right now on that picture is the way it looks today, and it's the way it looks since 1930s. But the synagogue was actually established much earlier. It was established in the 1860s by a small group of Jewish immigrants from France, Germany, and England. So that was not the most massive Jewish immigration. This was a small group of Jews that first arrived. And this is the oldest synagogue in the country. Looking right on the next picture on the top of the slide, you would think that is the interior of Templo Libertad, which could be, but it is not. It is not. What is the real name of the synagogue? The real name of the synagogue is, I'll say it first in Spanish, Congregación Israelita de la República Argentina, which translates as SIRA, S-I-R-A, Israeli congregation of the Argentinian Republic. That's the full name, the proper name. The one on the top is known as El Gran Templo de Paso because it's on Paso Street. This is also one of the oldest synagogues in Buenos Aires. It's in a different neighborhood. It's the neighborhood of Once. Once is known as the neighborhood of it still is, but it was the heart of retail and shops. But I want you to imagine a Lower East Side kind of action, because really that's what Once, the neighborhood Once is to Buenos Aires, what the Lower East Side is to Manhattan, where all the shops and the professionals establish themselves. And to this day, the neighborhood is very heavily Jewish. It has a little more into, has stayed a lot more on the Orthodox, more of the Orthodox community has established themselves there. Some of the most delicious kosher restaurants are there. In fact, the best place to go eat pizza and empanadas. So everybody knows what pizza is, but empanadas is a specific type of Argentinian food. It's a dough that has stuff that is filled with something, most likely with some kind of meat preparation, and then it's folded on the top, so you have like a half a moon kind of shape, and then baked or fried. And the best empanada, so I'm going to type it in the chat empanadas. The best empanadas are in this one little restaurant, a kosher restaurant in the heart of the neighborhood of Once. Now, El Templo de Paso, which is that picture that we are seeing, has gone through transformations just like El Templo de Libertad, which means they started as Ashkenazi synagogues. Libertad Temple started, in fact, as what we would call a more progressive style of worship. And yes, Freddy, there is somebody that went on a trip to Argentina with me. Yes, we did go to both Libertad and to Templo de Paso, which is a wonderful memory. And Libertad Temple is the only synagogue that I know of, and you can also put it in the chat if you know something different than what I know. It's the only synagogue that I know that as of today has no one but two minyans. It has an Orthodox minyan with the mechitza, with the separation and everything, and it holds a progressive minyan. And they don't compete, they don't fight, they literally share the building. They have their different spaces and different times who is in the main sanctuary and who is in the chapel, which is truly unique. I know of congregations renting space in our church, but I don't know of different denominations within Judaism that share one and the same space. So if you know something different than what I'm saying, I'd love to share it in the chat. And then on the bottom of this slide, you see a more modern construction that is Templo Bethel. And Bethel was the first progressive conservative congregation created by Rabbi Marshall T. Meyer. Rabbi Marshall T. Meyer is also the founding rabbi of the Latin American Seminar for Rabbis, Cantors, and Educators. Argentina has the one and only seminar that ordains cantors and rabbis in all Latin America, so that if individuals decide to pursue that vocation and don't go to the United States or don't go to Israel to do so, they can go to Buenos Aires. And so he also founded his own synagogue, Bethel, which is still alive today and very, very vibrant community. And my cantor that I told you about, that then became a rabbi, Rabbina Silvina Chemen, female rabbi, is currently the rabbi of Congregation Bethel. So just to say how things go around. There you have a female rabbi from a Sephardi ancestry, serving conservative, mainly Ashkenazi community, which brings me to another point before we move on, which is I think there is an assumption that there is a large Sephardi community in Argentina, and often the assumption comes from the fact that we speak Spanish. But that's really not the case. The majority of the immigration that arrived was, in fact, although some came from the Mediterranean and Spain, the majority came from Germany and then later on from Eastern Europe. So there is a majority of Ashkenazi community. Having said that, certainly Spanish has been a shared instrument and tool to pray and to be Jewish, as well as being integrated into the Spanish language. So it is used. Ladino songs are really used, interdenominational. In most shuls, you'll hear some form of Ladino, which is really fantastic. Okay, we can move on. I don't want to stay on this too long because I think I ended up putting more than then we can cover. But this is just a beautiful piece of art that is in the AMIA, which is basically the JCC of Argentina. And as some of you might know, it was there was a bombing of the AMIA, the JCC, as well as the Israeli embassy in Argentina, and both of those have not been to this day brought to justice. And after the fact, many years later, when they decided to rebuild and reopen the JCC in the same location where it originally was, the artist Agam, that some of you might know, he does just beautiful art. There are some talitot that he has with paintings that are just fantastic. He actually created these pieces. I don't know that you can really tell, but these are actually the same side of the opposite sides of one same structure. So when you look at it from one end, you see that it creates a Magen David. If you were to look at it from the other end, from the other side, it creates a 3D image of Hanukkah, and I thought I would share that with you. It's truly beautiful. All right, let's continue. Okay, so speaking of memories, I had attended shul for high holidays with my parents, done Passover seders at home, and that was about it in my early years, in my childhood. And then my sister became a bat mitzvah, and I remember going to synagogue for her services, and I still remember vividly experiencing the music. And I remember this anecdote, but I think I also remember it because my parents would tell it so often. They say that the weekend after, a few days after the ceremony, they were driving in the car, and I was singing, according to them, every single one of the tunes from shul that I had heard over the weekend, except I didn't know any Hebrew. So I was just making up some words, maybe singing nigunim style, lai, but I would sing these melodies. And this melody of Ufros Aleinu, of the end of the Hashkivenu prayer, where we ask for shelter and for peace, this version of this song is one that I heard on that Friday evening Kabbalat Shabbat ceremony for my sister's bat mitzvah, written by an Argentinian composer who has absolutely wonderful, beautiful pieces. Those of you who have been at Sinai have heard me sing this with the choir. This is not a choral piece, but I had it arranged for the choir. Those of you who are members, singers for with Kol Nashim might be able to sing it. I did send this as an SATV to Carol. Maybe one day it could be turned into an all-female arrangement. In any case, this is Ufros Aleinu. I'm just looking for my music. I apologize. Okay. Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Lecha. Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Lecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haboreh Sukkot Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen. Sing with me. Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Lecha. Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Lecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haboreh Sukkot Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al Yerushalayim. So that is one of my very first memories of Jewish music, liturgy, feeling communal singing, feeling community, feeling a sense of God, the mystery of the universe, whatever you might prefer to call it. All right, let's move on. I obviously put probably more than I can do for these tonight, but let's see if we can get through some more of these. So Pesach is coming, and I want you to add a new tune. I gave you one already, the Bechol Dor Vador, but this one is a fun one if you are up for a little bit of a tongue twist. This is the Ladino version of Who Is One. There are some different versions of the Ladino. So if you find one that has slightly different lyrics online, it doesn't mean that this one is wrong, and it doesn't mean that the one you found is wrong. It's just the way it is. So give it a try at home. I want to see you moving your mouth. I'm going to go slowly at the beginning, and I'm going to go a little faster and faster and faster until you don't know what you're doing anymore. Okay, here we go. You ready? Thumb up if you can hear me, and if you're still awake and you're with me. You good? Okay. Quien supiese y entendiese, alabar al Dios queriese, cuál es el uno es el Creador, Baruch Baruch Shemo. Quien supiese y entendiese, alabar al Dios queriese, cuáles son los dos Moshe y Aarón. Uno es el Creador, Baruch Baruch Shemo. Quien supiese y entendiese, alabar al Dios queriese, cuáles son los tres nuestros padres son, dos Moshe y Aarón. Uno es el Creador, Baruch Baruch Shemo. Tres nuestros padres son, three are our fathers, right? Quien supiese y entendiese, alabar al Dios queriese, cuáles son los Cuatro madres de Israel, tres nuestros padres son, dos Moshe y Aarón, uno es el Criador, Baruch Shemo. Quien supiese y entendiese alabar al Dios queriese, ¿cuáles son los cinco libros de la ley? Cuatro madres de Israel, tres nuestros padres son, dos Moshe y Aarón, uno es el Criador, Baruch Shemo. Quien supiese y entendiese alabar al Dios queriese, ¿cuáles son los seis días de la semana, cinco libros de la ley, cuatro madres de Israel, tres nuestros padres son, dos Moshe y Aarón, uno es el Criador, Baruch Shemo. Quien supiese y entendiese alabar al Dios queriese, ¿cuáles son los siete días como Shabbat, 6 días de la semana, 5 libros de la ley, 4 madres de Israel, 3 nuestros padres son, 2 Moshe y Aarón, uno es el Criador, Baruch Shemo. Quien supiese y entendiese alabar al Dios queriese, ¿cuáles son los 8 días de la mila, 7 días como Shabbat, 6 días de la semana, 5 libros de la ley, 4 madres de Israel, 3 nuestros padres son, 2 Moshe y Aarón, uno es el Criador, Baruch Shemo. Quien supiese y entendiese alabar al Dios queriese, ¿cuáles son los 9 meses de la preñada, 8 días de la mila, 7 días con Shabbat, 6 días de la semana, 5 libros de la ley, 4 madres de Israel, 3 nuestros padres son, 2 Moshe y Aarón, uno es el Criador, Baruch Shemo. Okay, let's see if we can do this in one breath. Quien supiese y entendiese alabar al Dios queriese, ¿cuáles son los 10 mandamientos de la ley, 9 meses de la preñada, 8 días de la mila, 7 días con Shabbat, 6 días de la semana, 5 libros de la ley, 4 madres de Israel, 3 nuestros padres son, 2 Moshe y Aarón, uno es el Criador, Baruch Shemo. That's it, you have it. I think I already saw somebody asking about the two instead of the table, the tablets of the law, that this one is Moshe and Aaron. Yeah, that's what they did, right? An interesting take on it. Okay, so it is 10:19. So I'm gonna skip the gefilte fish because
I just
we gotta do the gefilte fish. She's got a video of gefilte fish.
Then I'm gonna give only 5 minutes for questions, and then we'll do a closing song. Does that sound like a good plan?
That's great.
Okay, let's do
That'll
the
work.
fish. Okay, so number one, I will not eat the gefilte fish from a can. I'm sorry. And if that's how you eat it and that's what you do, go for it. You're doing great. I mean, it's the pandemic. Eat it from a can. Do whatever you can. But I just can't. I also couldn't find the recipe written down, but I found the video. It's only 5 minutes long, and it's also going inside a kitchen in Argentina with a nana. So I'm gonna go ahead and translate as it goes, and I think it's very self-descriptive anyway. So let's go ahead and watch this. Is there a volume or Leah?
I don't know. Closed caption.
Leah, are you muted? We can't hear anything.
Leah, you have to stop the share and do it again and turn on the sound if you want to have sound.
I see see that the sound is canceled on the video, so you just need to unmute it on the video.
I'll mute the video. Do you want me to? So I'm hearing the you're not hearing the sound from the video?
No.
Okay. All right. Let's do. It's inside the PowerPoint. So I shared the sound and hopefully this will do it, but I muted it, so I will unmute it.
Okay.
Y un cuarto de trucha y un cuarto de dorado para que sea un poquito más suave. Vamos a hacer para 6 personas, lo vamos a hacer abundante. Vamos a poner 5 yemas.
But if this plays, we can't hear you, Sheila.
Oh.
I can mute this and I mean.
Okay, so let's do something. I think I'm gonna share it from my screen. Would that be okay? And then I can talk and show the video.
Okay, I will give you. I'll make you co-host.
Thank you everybody for your patience. Just.
You don't want to miss the Argentinian gefilte fish.
Okay, so let me just, where am I? Video. Share screen. Somehow.
You have to have it open on your desktop to share it.
I have it open, but it's not wanting to.
Maybe we can have the link.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna watch it and then I will translate after it's done. Sounds good? We're gonna watch it from Leah's PowerPoint.
Yemas, las claras las vamos a batir aparte. Vamos a incorporar las yemas de a una. Después lo que va, cebolla rehogada, también cebolla cruda. A mí me gusta solamente con cebolla rehogada. Bueno, ya tenemos incorporados las 5 yemas. Lo que vamos a poner ahora, vamos a poner un poquito de pimienta blanca. Un poco de cebolla frita y por lo menos 4 cebollas fritas. Un touch de azúcar, porque a veces el pescado da un poquito de acidez. Y agregamos entonces el pan rallado y vamos viendo hasta que se compacte un poco. No nos olvidemos que nos queda todavía por poner las claras batidas en nieve. El pan rallado lo compacta y además lo aumenta bastante. Le vamos a agregar las claras batidas en nieve. Vamos a usar batidora para hacer más rapidito. Un touch de sal. Entonces le vamos agregando de a poco, vamos mezclando las claras y así obtenemos la mezcla perfecta. Bueno, ahora ponemos aceite en la cacerola, un poco de agua a tener hirviendo para después, cuando incorporemos las albóndigas de pescado, ponemos cebollas en rodajas así, la cortamos así, la ponemos de base, una más. También de base vamos a poner zanahorias en rodajas, en la parte de abajo un poco más gruesas, para que no se deshagan. Y un poco de papa, también en la parte de abajo un poco más gruesa, para que no se deshagan en la cocción. Después vamos armando las albóndigas, las colocamos sobre la base de cebolla, zanahoria y papa. Y ya podemos encender el fuego. Mientras vamos preparando más albóndigas, empieza a cocinar. Vamos a seguir cortando zanahoria y papa. Ahora vamos agregando un poco de agua. De a poquito le vamos agregando agua. Un cubito de verdura. Y seguimos poniendo zanahoria, un poco más de papa, como para que las albóndigas no se peguen unas con otras. Agregamos un poco más de agua y seguimos haciendo las albóndigas. Me parece que salió para un poco más de 6 personas, ¿eh? Pero a veces nos gusta no tener tan justa la comida porque pueden aparecer más comensales. Además es una costumbre muy judía preparar mucha más comida de lo que podemos consumir. Siempre queda para que los hijos, los nietos o los otros familiares se lleven un pequeño a su casa. Ponemos un poco más de zanahoria, un poco más de papa. Parece que vamos a incorporar, dada la cantidad que hay, un cubito más de verdura. También pueden agregarle un cubito de pescado si quieren. Pero a mí me gusta mucho cómo queda con el cubito de verdura. Pusimos bastante agua para que quede un caldito muy rico. Vamos a agregar en la cacerola un poco de pimentón porque me gusta que quede un poco más doradito. Toma un poquito más de color. Bueno, esto ya está. Lo tapamos y cada tanto vamos moviendo así como para... Y se cocina hasta que las papas y las zanahorias estén tiernas. Primero hicimos fuego máximo, luego bajamos al fuego mínimo para que pueda completarse la cocción. Y ya está. Vamos a abrir para que vean cómo quedó el pescado.
All right. Okay. I think it was pretty self-explanatory for those of you who can cook. But I'll just say a couple of things. One is, I didn't know. So she uses potatoes. Number one is she uses potatoes to separate the fish cakes so that they don't stick together, which I didn't know. She also uses potatoes and carrots so that when the potatoes and the carrots are ready, that is when the fish cakes are ready. Which I never use the vegetables to time that. She also says that she uses, she doesn't like the raw onion, so she uses a lot of onion, as you could see, but she cooked it a little bit beforehand. Okay. And then of course, she says that she's planning to make for 6 individuals. But you saw the amount. That was like probably 12 people. And then she said, well, you know, people can take a pecale. People can take a little something back home with them if there is a little too much food. Besides, she says, it's Passover. There's always someone else that shows up to eat, which I think it's very appropriate for this upcoming festival and knowing that we should always open our doors, even if last minute, for an additional member, someone that needs a place where to be, even if it's on Zoom. All right.
Before we
give you an opportunity to take it over, Carol, if there are questions or anything.
There's just one question. It's a larger question in terms of the population, the Jewish population of Argentina, and in which cities beyond Buenos Aires is it concentrated? And if you have those numbers handy, that would be great.
The current Jewish population in Argentina is 220,000 people. It's the largest in Central and South America. And I think Brazil and Mexico come right after, but I don't know in what order. And 85% of that population, of that number, is in Buenos Aires. 15% is in the rest of the country. Main places are Cordoba, which is center west of the country. Also Rosario, Santa Fe, La Mesopotamia, which is east of the country, right with the border with Brazil and Uruguay, that area. And then there are a handful of other places in Patagonia, but those will be the other two main areas of that 15% remainder, right? So
thank you for answering that. I know that you have some people here tonight who were part of your Argentine tour of a few weeks ago, and other people are either ready to go back with you or go with you again. So do let us know if and when that's happening, because you will have your friends from Colorado join you with pleasure. So I know you have an Adon Olam ready for us, and we look forward to taking it out. In the meantime, thank you so much. Now you know how your contributions, both large and small, help us to make this program continue to grow. This is in the week of spring cleaning and just prior to Passover. This is the last of what we've called season 1. And with season 1, we've been all over the place: India, Morocco, 3 different visits within Israel, the kibbutz, Tel Aviv, Yafo. We've been to Sigeb, now we've been to south of the border, wow. And that's only a few of the places that we've been. So let us talk about what will be happening after Pesach and the return of this LChaim program. We will be having 2 different themes of a type. One will be Taste of Jewish Music from summer camp. And then following that will be at the end of April. And then following that, in the 3rd week of May, a Taste of Jewish Music from Dreamland, where we will be focusing on lullabies, Jewish lullabies. Both of those will be offered by Denver native Adrian Susan, and we hope then we will be continuing into June and in the summer, so stay tuned. So let's take it away with Adon Olam.
Link for the season 2 of LChaim is in the chat.
Thank you, all of you who joined this evening tonight. Stay well, stay healthy. I hope we'll be together in person in an embrace sooner than later. I included a song, a melody that I wrote. Oh well. This is Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra let nasa b'chatzo kol azay malach shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado אחד ואין שני, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו, להחמירה, ולראשית, ולתכלית, ולא הגות וגם מסגר. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, next line. Bechol Eli, Bechai Gwali, Bechsur Hevli, Behetzara, Behundisi, Homanos Li. Thank you, everybody.
Best wishes to everyone for Aziz and Pesach. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. And we look forward to seeing you after the Chagim. Cantor Sheila, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you. Chag Sameach, everybody.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Chag
Laila
Sameach.
Tov. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Sending love from Maine.
Okay, we'll take it.